Hello, this is from SoftServe, and I am actually recording this after I recorded this whole video because I'm a great YouTuber, obviously, and I do things very efficiently. But I need your support. I'm not good at talking about this, but I do have a Patreon. I do have a Ko-Fi for donations through PayPal. And basically, I have kind of let that slip a bit. You get Google Drive links for all my mods, all of them, and way faster downloads, and you get ad-free versions of these videos. And it's posted at the same time. There's no early access, so you don't have to worry about that. It's not like a day early or anything. I tend to just do it at the same time, and you can just watch it with no ads. If you want to do that, I have the links down below if you want to support mods like this. And the ultimate goal, if you want to know my ultimate goal, is not only from soft modding. I would obviously the goal right now is to develop my own Souls-like game. Now, if that's 3D, 2D, I haven't 100% decided. Maybe isometric, I don't know. I used to make games like 15 years ago, back when Game Maker was much more simple, and now Game Maker, you can do a ton of shit. So maybe I'll use Game Maker again, I don't know. So if you want to help me on that journey, all the money I get from Patreon, YouTube, everything, donations, I use all of that money. I assure you, I am not a rich person. I am not a person living off an inheritance. I'm lucky to live with my brother, who makes this possible, quite honestly. So shout out. Like, if it were not for him and the money he brings in, I wouldn't be able to do this. Absolutely all the money I have just immediately goes into bills and things like that. So I figured I should be more open about that, as I think by default people can assume, oh, he's probably just, well off, and that's why he's able to do this stuff full time. No, I've been lucky enough to have enough support that I can get by. But I'm not where I need to be financially at all. And that's also not your guys' responsibility. It's not. I want to be clear about that. But I have been hesitant in the past to talk about it because I feel bad, and it's my Midwest sensibilities. But realistically, everyone has always told me, you should talk about it and ask for support. And then if they don't want to, that's totally fine. Like, you don't have to feel bad about that, because if people want to support you, there's going to be a good number of people who will not know how to support you. And if you don't talk about it, they won't know how to, and they'd like to. And it's taken me a while to realize that, where I was like, yeah, that's true. It's up to them if they want to or not. I'm not forcing them. And I'm never going to guilt trip. I hope that doesn't come off like that. It's just being honest, I think. But anywho, on to the video. Enjoy the look at what I've done with Sekiro thus far and where I want to go with it. And today we're in Securo, because as the title of the video, which is probably going to be, we'll see, is I have started a Sekiro and Elden Ring mod, which that actually sounds really, that's a really dumb way to put it. They're separate mods, but they are being essentially co-developed because they share probably 85% of their visual config, like makeup. Sekiro was a huge improvement to rendering tech for FromSoft. This is when they moved to volumetric fog. That was the first time they've used that. They had also moved to dynamic shadows for the entire world, which they had not done prior. This also allowed them to save on not having to, do a crap ton of light maps like they did in Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3. And that's why Sekiro is like a 13 gigabyte download on Steam. It's amazing. So what we're seeing here is the unmodded game, which I think looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love it. Actually, let me make sure I'm at the right. Can I still pass time at these? I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring and Night Rain, and so oh no, you can't. Okay, I was getting used to the Elden Ring pass time, and you can pick. But yeah, so this is how it looks, which you can notice they tend to do the color temperature of the volumetric fog in the overall area is still based in a colder temperature. I've also noticed they have very low exposure that they set in their visual config files. Just a lot of things they had set up, and my mod is going to alter all of those. And you might be wondering, why the fuck would I start other mods when I have other mods I haven't completely finished yet? And that's just my process. It's stupid, but that's just kind of how it works. I work on what I'm interested in, and it's benefited me so much because I learned so much. Like, I've been toying around with Elden Ring modding for the past couple days, and basically all of that is going into what I'm doing at Sekiro now, which is learning how they handled their shadow casting. How do you turn that on or off, as that functions much differently than their prior games? How the volumetric fog works, although that's actually a bit different between Elden Ring and Sekiro. They upgraded it again for Elden Ring, which makes perfect sense. But I wanted to start in the unmodded game so I can show that, like, I love how this game looks by default. I don't think there's anything wrong with how it looks right now. I think it's amazing. So anything I do with it is purely just personal preference, kind of like, oh, okay, I like a more vibrant image. I like my exposure a little bit higher. And it's like an alternate version. The other thing I'll be doing is shadows, upgrading their resolution, because you can do that through the system param pretty easily. It's not anything new that's already been done. I will be doing like what I showed in the prior video, I think, where the sculptor's idol will now cast shadows from it. I want to do that for like the little like torch sconces and things like that. But targeted, because there's a lot of mods out there for Elden Ring and Sekiro, well, really just for Elden Ring, where they'll turn everything to be shadow casting. That doesn't work, because the engine will cut off. It has a maximum of like 5 shadow casting light sources in a specific area, which is pretty normal for engines to do that, obviously, because they're expensive. And so doing that really doesn't work, and I think the end result is pretty uneven. But anyway, so here's what the unmodded game looks like. Store it in your mind, so that way when I boot it up with my current mod work, which really only covers Ashina Outskirts, but the good thing is Sekiro is incredibly is a relatively small game compared to a lot of their other titles. Like, there's not tons of maps. There's I mean, I guess you could say it's closer to like Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls in terms of like length. I think it's the perfect game length. I think Sekiro might be their greatest game. Like, if full stop. I think it's not my favorite overall, which is actually Dark Souls 2. I know, crazy. But I think Sekiro is, just from a precision standpoint, from the vision of what they wanted to do, I don't know, it just feels like it might be their best execution of their vision, if that makes any sense. I think it's just absolutely amazing. It's crack. It's so good. I think it's the best combat system I've ever experienced in a video game, which is not a hot take, right? I forgot that I had sound effects a little high. So we're gonna run. We've spent enough time in the unmodded game. I can lower that in OBS or in DaVinci Resolve after the fact. Let's rest. Okay, now I want to teleport back to the first sculptor's idol, and then I'm gonna load my current mod work, which isn't gonna be like life-changing, right? But these are good comparisons I need to do. So I'm actually going to take a screenshot of this. And also, I want to preface with, I think there's a good chance that most people, maybe the overwhelming majority, will prefer the unmodded game. And I am very happy about that, because I think it's gorgeous and amazing. So, like, that doesn't really stop me from modding, because I don't know, I kind of got pretty confident that, like, I like what I do, and if not everybody likes it, I'm pretty okay with that. I don't know. I've thought more about that, but anyway, so let's take a screenshot here. Yoink. Ooh, I did forget to say, I am actually using the Sekiro TSR mod by Huaitai. I think I'm saying that incorrectly. I'll have a link in the description. They make a ton of DLSS mods and frame generation on top of that. A lot of free ones, and I think paid ones as well. But they offer free ones on their Patreon, free to sign up, right? I'll link that in the description. Fantastic work, and we have DLAA being used. But honestly, I don't actually hate the TAA that Sekiro and Elden Ring use. I actually think the TAA is pretty solid, and I think most people wouldn't really super notice the difference. But you know, as us tech, big nerds, big graphics nerds, yeah, like DLSS is fantastic. So I took a screenshot. Let's log out, and then I'll be right back. And we are back. And I think you can see that the shadows are slightly higher resolution. I still haven't 100% figured out the system param. It worked in Elden Ring really easily to upgrade the shadow map from 4K to 8K in terms of resolution for the overall shadow map, but here it's been far less noticeable. And you'll notice the exposure's higher. You'll notice there's a little bit more volumetric fog. Not a ton. I've been trying to keep that somewhat similar, but they were low on their volumetric fog. They more or less fixed that in Elden Ring, which it may not fix. I would say it may have just been an artistic thing, but it was their first usage of volumetric fog. But I amped up the amount of it a little bit. I changed the coloring on it to a more neutral color tone overall. They love a cold color tone, which is perfectly fine. I just tend to prefer a more neutral or warm. So that's kind of my goal. So I kind of moved it towards that. You'll see that Securo is lit differently now. I modified they have a separate light that's used for Sekiro and like enemies, which is common in their prior games as well, and Elden Ring too. And so I changed that to where he blends into the environment a lot more naturally, because that's just kind of my preference. I kind of just like that. And so he's more like one-to-one with the environment. Not completely. Technically, he could look darker with the shadowing. I also messed with the indirect illumination. The exposure, you can see, is much brighter. They had the exposure very, very low. Ooh, this is a good reminder. I need to go do this before I forget. Let's just put the sound effects like way down. Because when I record them, they end up being... And music. You know what? Music will go down a little bit too. I also messed with the bloom. That was another big thing. They had their bloom set very low. But what they did to compensate for that is they had their bloom threshold set incredibly low as well, which basically allows the bloom to live more freely, if that makes any sense. And so I've inverted that, where I've raised up the bloom levels, but I've also raised the threshold itself to sort of clamp down on it. And for me, that I tend to like that. It sort of has more bloom highlights, but it doesn't make bloom everywhere on the screen. So I think they were very clear with why they did it the way they did it. It almost created like a sort of hazy image, and it's really beautiful. So as you can tell, I'm trying to, I don't want anyone to come away from this thinking that like I'm doing anything that I think is better than FromSoft, because that's just never been the goal. Also, I turned off the vignette effect. You can easily do that in the G params. There is still the vignette when you crouch. I don't really know what controls that, but I'm pretty okay with the vignette there. But I turned it off for normal gameplay. They had the vignette set pretty normally for Sekiro. They have the vignette set at a crazy level in Elden Ring. But yeah, so hopefully you can tell. Basically, shadows are a little bit higher resolution. It's not as noticeable in Sekiro. And then it's just brighter. And then it's just a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more color. Sekiro definitely had the... Man, I'm getting absolutely destroyed by this cock. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Clip that out. Clip that the fuck out. Clip it and ship it, as they would say. And then, yes, you'll just notice a little bit more bloom around like the local lights. I also went into the system param, and for the volumetric fog, and then like for the shadow casting, you can essentially, well, at least I think, you can control how far in the distance a lot of that stuff will render. So I pushed that out as well. I need to do more testing on it. I also boosted the specular values. to match like the albedo diffuse levels, which you can see here. FromSoft, ever since, well, Sekiro really, they've been very low on specular levels. And I think that's due to their overuse of it in some cases, with DS3 and Bloodborne, where they were very wet looking because they just had specular everywhere. Specular left, right, center. And then it was with Securo that they, I think, really got their PBR like workflow, physically based rendering workflow down. But I think in the midst of that, from an artistic choice, they just lowered the specular to where it played second fiddle quite a bit, and I think that is the desired approach to a degree. But I basically boost the specular values to match the diffuse values, and so far I really like the look. I think it just makes the rocks a little bit shinier. Obviously the wet areas like this a little bit more noticeable. I tend to like it. But so far I'm really happy with how it looks. But I think the biggest thing that is pretty much always going to be true with my mods, it's sort of like the double-edged sword, is that I don't change things enough to where people would be like, oh my god, that's an insane difference. That's so crazy. And so I kind of lose out on that. But I also love how the game looks by default, so none of my changes I want to like completely rip out how the game looks, because, well, I love how the game looks. I love how all their games look. I just have small tweaks that I want to do. But right now I think this is shaping up fantastically well. And if I'm the only one who likes it, I'm pretty okay with that. I love the warmer tone. I think it fits actually really well with like the sun. You'll also notice that light shafts, because I adjusted the exposure, the light shafts do show up a little bit more. They're pretty muted in the unmodded game. But I'm a hoe for light shafts. I just am. I also don't have the HUD on, so I can't see the icons. But funny thing is with Sekiro, even if I have the icons on, I still fall to my death a lot. The grapple thing has just never fully been my jam. Ooh, iframes, you love to see it. Also with Sekiro, I feel like I'd prefer to make a video where I don't suck shit at the game. But then again, like, who cares? I've beat the game. I did my time. I don't have anything to prove to anyone. I haven't done any of the, like, inner bosses, and I do want to do the Shura ending. So I might actually do that on this character, because I've never done that. And I think that's such a sick concept that they even have, like, you can end the game early by making a certain choice. Like, that's so fucking cool. Dang, I wish the ogre guy was still alive so I could fight him. I think this character's up to, like, the Sunken Valley. But yeah, this is just a quick look at the differences while and you know, I haven't done a Yap video in a while. These are just kind of my style of videos. I know a lot of people would prefer if I did a bunch of like editing and like, oh, here's this and here's the after and here's the before and here's the after. That's just a fuckload of work, and it takes away from modding, and I hate that. And I don't enjoy the work of editing at all. I just find no enjoyment in that. I know some do, I just fucking don't. So I'm pretty much always going to make these kind of videos, which, I have to admit, there's been some people that have been like, oh, yeah, but, you could just be getting so many more views. And it's like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I would say that having a channel for like a few years and only really doing it for like a couple years and getting to like 30,000 plus subscribers is actually pretty good. Like, and usually when I point that out, they go, oh, okay. Also, the funny thing is a lot of those people don't actually have YouTube channels themselves. So it is always a little funny where it's like, interesting. You guys can give advice on stuff that you don't really know anything about. That's interesting. Very interesting. I don't tend to do that. I don't tend to give advice on stuff I don't know about. But I've learned people on the internet love to do that. Love to give advice on stuff that they really actually don't have much understanding of. But I overall don't think they're wrong. I think there is a market for more edited videos. This isn't really related, but there was a study recently of Gen Z YouTube watchers, I think. And it turns out that they preferred the thumbnails that were more basic, that had less like editing and less like clickbaity stuff. And it turns out that maybe through this whole AI slop revolution bullshit ass stuff going on, that they're actually valuing authenticity more than anything. And that's awesome. We've come full circle. Because that's how YouTube started, you know, right? Like, where no one knew what they were doing. They were just making thumbnails, which could just be an image from the video you made. It, you know, it wasn't like super curated. It wasn't edited in Photoshop, you know, none of that shit. And it's funny, we're actually kind of coming back around to that, where they're like, yeah, we just want authenticity. We just want to know that an actual fucking human made this, and not some, I don't know. I thought that was nice. I was like, that's an encouraging thing. I know that's what you guys come to this video for. It's to hear me yap about shit while I play the games that I love, that I also love working on. But I actually don't know where I was going with it. Oh, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Got him. Got him. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at with the Sekiro mod thus far. I can very quickly go through the other areas, you know, Ashina Castle. We could go there really quickly. Well, actually, no, I think I'll do that in a different video. I'll also show Elden Ring in tomorrow's video. I'm putting that in the video now, so I commit myself to it. Because I think Elden Ring deserves its own video for the things I've learned there. Because I've actually learned a lot more. There's shadow rendering issues. There's things that are not rendering shadows in Elden Ring. And I figured out how to fix that. It was a weird unknown value in Smithbox that you adjust on the map piece itself that makes it cast shadows. Totally different from all the other games. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. I figured that shit out. So if we go back to the first idol, I believe right now it's actually still using like the default G pair amps for when I hop across this branch back towards the dilapidated temple, and it basically alternates back to the unmodded game. I think. I might be wrong. I think so. Let's see. Yeah, you can actually see it happen. So this is not completely. I think it's still pulling certain things from my mod changes. But you can see it is switching to a different G pair amp right here that lowers the exposure and does undoes some of my changes. Which I need to, I'll look in the collisions. I think it's just a sub G pair amp it's switching to. But you can see it sort of lift the volumetric fog. I'm not totally happy with the volumetric fog. I think I might lower it again or change how it's filtered. I think I'll mess with that because I do think that might be a little over the top. This is all very work in progress stuff. Yeah, you do lose a lot of visibility by lifting it too high. Yeah, I'll play around with that. Because on the one hand, I really like the higher volumetric fog in some cases because I think it looks great over here. And I think it really sells like the foggy, like morning vibe with the snow. I don't know. And the higher exposure, I think, actually really helps with the snow. Because I live in the Midwest. I actually live right near St. Louis, Missouri. I know, doxing myself, crazy. And I've grown up in the Midwest my entire life. And a big part of living in the Midwest is snow. Less so in the last like 10 years, but we still get some. But there's something that is very unique about how the sun hits snow and it blinds you. Like that's just a very understood thing in the Midwest or any place that gets a lot of snow. So I think the higher exposure actually and the higher bloom value that actually hits the snow, I think, really nicely without being too over the top. But yeah, let me know what you think. Do you like how this looks? Do you not like how this looks? And if you don't, and if you do, sound off in the comments. I admit I don't read a lot of comments these days, and I should. I should be better about that. I tend to kind of do my own work and then post it, and then look at some of the comments for the first day, and then I kind of just tune out, which I know is terrible YouTuber behavior. but I just move on to other stuff. I kind of forget that video exists, which is also terrible YouTuber behavior. By the way, I do plan to do another episode of Graceborn, the Elden Ring Overhaul mod that changed a lot of things to be Bloodborne style. Because I had a lot of fun recording that first hour. And it kind of found the algorithm to where it's now like in the 4,000 view range, which is actually more than I thought, you know? Because I know people come here for my mods, right? But it's actually really good to branch out and get new viewers who may like that kind of content, but don't as much care about my own mods, right? Like, I think it's okay that there's stuff for both, and not everybody has to watch every video. I think that's one issue a lot of YouTubers have of like, yeah, but if I start making content that not everyone likes, it's like, well, yeah, they're going to get less views, but I think that's okay. I've had people in my comments tell me, you know, no one comes here for your playthroughs, right? And it's like, bitch, do you think you're slick? Do you think you're smart? You think I don't know that shit? You think I don't know my statistics better than you do? Like, you think I'm not making this video fully knowing that it's not going to get as many views? But I don't live my fucking life on view count. I really don't. I don't make most of my money from YouTube. It'd be cool if I did, I guess, but it's super variable, so it's not a good main source of income. IMO. But, you know, is what it is. People are going to sound off all the time. And actually, when they leave those shitty comments, which is pretty rare, it does actually help the video. So I do find that funny. That's sort of like the one clap back, if you will. I don't really see it as that they can't really do anything with, because they're kind of caught in 4K, right? Like, they're like, man, you fucking suck, or whatever they say. I don't know. Usually it's more targeted than that. That is just a bad example. And then I'll just be like, well, you know that your comment helps the video, right? Like, be seen by more people. So the fact that you hate it and you had to tell me that you hate it actually means more people are going to watch it. So, and they kind of go, yeah, well, and they just have no comeback for that. They go, fuck. And I guess they could delete it. I think I've had someone delete theirs before, which is pretty funny. Because you're like, oh yeah, fuck you. But anyway, thank you for watching. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the interiors are swapping to the different G-Param. I did fix that in Elden Ring as well. Okay. Yeah, you can see it switches to my G-Param, to their G-Param. Yeah, very different style. Very different style. I love the original. But I have to admit, I actually do like a bit of the volumetric fog hiding some of the background here, which I think doesn't look as good. I think there are some distant things in Sekiro that like, you can see the low poly nature on that mountain pretty well, and then like that ends up not being like actual geometry, I think, in this case. I think that's actually like a billboard, which once again looks totally solid and fine, and I think only my, you know, crack brain modder bullshit, whatever, will notice that as much. But yeah, okay, that hides it too much. Yeah, damn, okay. Yeah, I gotta alter the volumetric fog. That's too much. I don't want it to hide the mountains completely, which I unfortunately did. Well, I'll fix that. I can lower the density a little bit more. But other than that, I'm very happy with how it looks. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the Elden Ring specific mod video tomorrow. Really cool stuff in there. So I hope you'll tune in for that. And I'll see you next time. I actually went viral on Twitter recently. I got like 83,000 likes on something, which is crazy, about the new Undertaker class in Elden Ring Night Rain. And it basically was saying that the fat ass enjoyers at FromSoft, they've hired enough of them that they have overpowered the foot fetishists. And for whatever reason, I farted out that tweet just completely randomly, as I always do. I just tweet about a bunch of shit with no thought, and it just blew up. And so I got like 5 million views, and I'm like, that's what I'm going to be known for. I actually bet that'll be the first time FromSoft has seen me. If they ever saw that tweet, that would be fucking hilarious. That they went, oh, he's making fun of us for being really into feet. And I'm like, no, I'm all about the foot, you know. Well, not really, but, you know, I'll take a foot. I don't kink shame. We don't kink shame in this community. All right, we don't kink shame. But I thought that was funny, so there's a little nugget. Enjoy the video.